Hello, this is Miss Andrea, and I am coming to you from the Children's Museum Houston. And today we're going to talk about hydrogen, and we're going to actually talk to Daniela. Daniela Sanchez has a mechanical engineering degree, and she it works for the process department at KBR here in Houston, and is currently doing a project with the Center for Houston's Future. Daniela, can you tell us a little bit about your project?
Oh, thank you very much for the invitation. I started at the Center for Houston Futures as a hydrogen intern last summer, and I continue working with the center now as a part of one of my university projects. And this project focuses on analyzing the economic and technical aspect of hydrogen fuel station at Houston.
Wow. So thank you so much for sharing this information with us, because I think hydrogen, people are interested in it, but they don't know a lot about it. So can you expand a little bit on it?
Yeah, hydrogen is very versatile. Like for many decades, NASA have been using hydrogen as a fuel to send rockets to the space. This rocket can use about 500,000 gallons of cold liquid hydrogen, an amount that could fill a huge Olympic swimming pool.
Wow.
It can also be used to remove impurities from oil refining and can even power something as small as a laptop or drone.
Wow. So I know that hydrogen is the lightest element and it's the most abundant in the universe. But I don't know that much about it. Is it in the air that we breathe?
There is a tiny amount of hydrogen in the air, but it's so light that when it's not combined with other elements, it eventually escapes our Earth's gravity and atmosphere. Most of the hydrogen on Earth is found in water, H2O, and hydrocarbons. In fact, our bodies are made up of around 10% of hydrogen because we have H2O, which of course is water, in our bodies, as well as proteins and fats, which also contain hydrogen.
Oh, so if hydrogen is the fuel and I have water in my body with hydrogen, does that mean that I can get energy from that?
No. To use hydrogen as a fuel source, you must separate the hydrogen from the other elements. Fuel and energy are not the same thing. A fuel is a substance that can make to react to generate energy, and energy is the ability to do work. Some of the common fuels that we find are wood, coal, and the most common in here is oil and gas.
Wow. So this is kind of like how food is fuel for our body, right? So we eat food and there's some chemical energy stored in that food that our body processes so we can jump and talk and breathe. So it's kind of like that, right? So if I have it right, hydrogen by itself is the stored fuel, and that reacts to produce energy. How does it do that?
That is right. The hydrogen can be stored until it's needed, and then it's fed into a fuel cell, which is like a battery. However, unlike a battery which runs out of fuel, the hydrogen fuel cell doesn't have to be recharged, because as long as hydrogen and air are fed into, it can generate electricity. Energy is generated when hydrogen and oxygen are combined, and the best part is that when the electricity is generated, the only byproduct is water and a little heat. So there are no negative effects from the process.
Wow, so I can see why people are so excited about hydrogen. I'm wondering though, are we using hydrogen now as a fuel? I mean, why isn't everybody using it?
Well, as I mentioned before, NASA has been using hydrogen fuel cells for decades, but the technology is still very expensive, and durability, which is the life of the fuel cell, is not as long as diesel engine. But the good news is that there are many universities and companies that are working with industry that use heavy duty trucks to see how it's possible to make hydrogen fuel cells more efficient and use them in place of diesel. For example, developing new materials for the fuel cells or working in better manufacturing processes.
Wow. So what are the benefits of using hydrogen fuel cells?
The benefits are that hydrogen is vastly abundant, which means there is a lot of it. Hydrogen fuel cells do not have any moving part compared to existing fuel engines. So that means less maintenance, Andrea.
Oh, wow. That is good, right?
Hydrogen fuel cells do not produce any harmful emissions. And these vehicles have a similar driving range to modern day vehicles, which is a range of over 300 miles.
Wow.
Fuel cell vehicles perform very well in places with steep slopes where the car needs more energy. Another benefit is that fuel cell vehicles are twice as efficient as gasoline cars and perform in the same efficiency under all type of weathers.
Oh,
Fuel cell can also be refueled just as fast as modern day vehicles in around 3-5 minutes.
Oh, wow. So there's a lot of similarities, but more efficiency, that's great. So efficiency just means that it's able to use the fuel way better than a gasoline car, right? More or less. So what are the drawbacks? Because there must be some drawbacks in this.
Yeah, well, producing hydrogen without releasing any harmful gas to the environment is expensive. But before we start talking about what are the challenges of producing hydrogen, I would like to explain that there are different colors for hydrogen. Color is not the actual color. It's just a way to identify the source of energy used to create the hydrogen. Gray hydrogen indicates that hydrogen was produced by using gas as an energy source. Blue hydrogen is also produced from gas, but the CO2, which is a harmful gas for the environment, produced from this process is captured and stored. Finally, a true zero-emission green hydrogen is produced from electricity generated by solar and wind. Most of the hydrogen produced now is gray because it's currently one of the cheapest way. But at the moment, there is many people working on developing different technologies to produce hydrogen in a more efficient way and free of emission. So, green hydrogen. One reason why green hydrogen is expensive is that it requires a high amount of electricity to separate the hydrogen from its surrounding element. And there is another reason also, that is the transportation of hydrogen. It's very challenging. You can transport hydrogen by trucks, but to transport a considerable amount, 12,000 or 17,000 gallons of hydrogen, is necessary to convert it from gas into liquid. Also, it's possible to move it through pipelines as gas, but the city needs to have pipeline infrastructure. And actually, we are very lucky here in the Houston region because we have one of the most extensive hydrogen pipeline system that it's over 900 miles.
Wow, that is pretty impressive. So Houston is a big energy hub, and I'm hearing you say we're already producing hydrogen. Do you think that we'll produce more hydrogen here?
Actually, this area has a huge potential of becoming a hydrogen hub since we have a lot of infrastructure already, which means we already have many of the things needed to produce more hydrogen for fuel cells that could power vehicles, substation, or any portable application that use battery, for example, laptops. This region has a fantastic hydrogen system, and it's producing 1/3 of the yearly hydrogen gas in the USA. The hydrogen currently being produced is used mainly for petroleum processing and fertilizer production. The system has around 48 hydrogen production plants, more than 900 miles of hydrogen pipelines that I mentioned before, and a considerable amount of salt-covered storage, which can store hydrogen or CO2. Do you remember that I said that we can make blue hydrogen from gas?
Oh, yeah.
But we need to capture the CO2? Well, in this cover is where we can store the CO2.
Wow. This is so amazing. I've lived in Houston all my life, and I had no idea all these things existed. It is so exciting. And what it really means for me is I'm excited for the young people coming up, because they have the opportunity living here in Houston to maybe be involved in this. I think hydrogen is going to be really big in the future, and they could become engineers like yourself and help in this process. I think that is extremely exciting. I hope that the students watching this today understand a little bit better about hydrogen. And I'm so happy that you came to explain more to us, because I think you did a great job explaining. You're very good at what you do, and I really appreciate you coming down and sharing with us.